Okay, so I hate doing these kinds of videos on the channel and everything, as I usually like to keep it positive and focus on gaming and stuff like that, even as far as reactions or stuff like that. But this is a situation that really irked me so much to the point where I have to talk about it, because it's just like, it really pisses me off. And to be honest with you, these are feelings that I've been holding back for years, and only now I feel like I'm about to let it out. It's hard to I'm gonna try to keep this as apolitical as possible. It's hard to do that because politics do play a role in this situation, but I'm sure some of you have heard. So there is a influencer named Joey Swall, and he mostly makes a bunch of gym related content and stuff like that. Like, he'll mostly calling out a bunch of people acting out in the gyms, like whether if it's like the TikTok chicks who, you know, I don't know what it is about them. They just go into the gym, they record themselves, and then they talk about, oh, this man's looking at me, he's making me uncomfortable. Basically accusing men who are just minding their business as creeps and stuff like that, and doing all kinds of other crazy stunts. You know, he calls out degeneracy in the gym, basically, and he does it in a very respectful way. So what happened was, recently he's come under fire because he posted a video where he dressed up as Hulk Hogan for Halloween, which, by the way, I think I think some of you have probably already seen it. Like, I did like a whole YouTube short where I talked about Hulk Hogan passing away at the age of 71, which came as a shock, honestly, because we literally had just lost Ozzy Osbourne, right? And then we lose him next. It's crazy. So the reason why he's under fire is because there's people who are, I hate to say it, but there's people who are actually glad that Hulk Hogan died because of a racist comment he made 20 years ago. And they started attacking Joey Swall, and then Joey Swall ended up, he also said a colored person and everything like that, obviously describing a minority, a colored person. That's what you would call a minority, like myself, for example, right? So they also got mad at him for saying that instead of saying a person of color. And I'm just like, that's the same thing, but that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is the fact that Joey Swall ended up apologizing to these people, which, I'm gonna be honest with you, he had nothing to apologize for, because all he did was post a video of him dressed up as Hulk Hogan, obviously paying tribute to a legend who died. Now, I already know, I'm pretty sure this video is probably gonna cost me, it's probably going to give me a ton of hate or whatever. I wouldn't be remiss if even my own viewers would look at this and be like, oh, wow, Larry, I thought you were a good person, this and that. I'm not saying that all my viewers would do that. Thankfully, my viewers have been very cool for people, honestly. I'm very thankful to them. They're very respectful of, my worldview. I'm very respectful to theirs as well. But that's not even the point. My point is that, like, he apologized for something that literally wasn't wrong. And the part that really messes with me is the fact that these people are so, I'm talking, it's not like we're talking about a person who murdered someone. We're talking about somebody who said something, a racist, ignorant comment 20 years ago during a very low point in his life. It doesn't mean that what Hulk Hogan did was right. Like, I mean, obviously, look at me. I'm a black man myself. So it's like, of course, I don't condone that kind of language. But it's like, he apologized for his comments, and then he never spoke like that again. But even then, even despite doing that, even making amends with so many black wrestlers that he worked with, such as The Rock, Devon Dudley, Mark Henry, all them guys, they all forgave him, and so did I. I forgave him because I was just like, okay, what you did was wrong, but I hope you learned your lesson not to talk like that again. And he did. He never spoke like that again, because he realized that what he did was wrong. And it's like, okay, let the man change. Change doesn't happen overnight, But it's like these people do not have any ounce of empathy in the world to fucking see that the man made a mistake during a low point in his life. While as wrong as it was, I ain't trying to sit here and defend it. As wrong as it was, he apologized and he never spoke like that again, which showed that he really was owning up to his mistakes. And yet people are still attacking him. They're treating him as though like he's the worst professional wrestler ever, for even though without that man, pro wrestling would not be in the mainstream as it is right now. Okay? He may not have been the best person personally, but professionally, his prestige is undeniable. You understand what I'm saying? But these people are treating him worse than, you know, what happened to Chris Benoit. When Chris Benoit did what he did in 2007, there was no outrage. There was none. There was no outrage. If actually people took pity on Chris Benoit and said, "Oh, well, it's because this CTE or some, you know, the CTE scanning, you know, scanning his brain, showing that it was in bad shape due to all the massive concussions and the many times he hit his head while he was in the ring and all that stuff," right? Which he did, because, you know, the headbutt dive. So it was like they were trying to say that it was CTE, so that's why he did what he did. It's like we feel sorry for him, but yet it was like Hulk Hogan was also at a low point in his life. He only said a word. It may not have been a good word, but he said a word. And you're gonna tell me that a man who used a racial slur one time, secretly recorded, by the way, which invaded his privacy. He said one word on a whim versus somebody who killed his wife, his son, and himself. Why is it that you're going to give a pass to somebody who took 2 lives, including his own, but you're going to heavily condemn someone who used inappropriate language 20-some years ago, for which he apologized for, and he owned up to his mistake, and he never spoke like that again. But also, my main issue with it is that, you know, Joey Swole is under fire for even paying tribute to Hulk Hogan. And he's giving in. Why are you giving in to these people? These people were never even a fan of you to begin with. A lot of these people, like I said, I'm going to try to keep this as apolitical as possible, but the kinds of people that were attacking you never even liked you to begin with. And I'm just keeping it 100. It's like, listen, this is coming from someone who likes Joey Swole. I personally like Joey Swole. I love his content and everything. But my issue with it is that he's apologizing to people who never even supported him to begin with because of the kind of content that he makes. You know, there's people who obviously disagree with Joey Swole on quite a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't be remiss if these are the same people that do disagree with him, and they're taking an opportunity to use Hulk Hogan's death and then see this one moment where he's paying tribute to who was likely his childhood icon, and then use it against him to you know, put him down and everything, and then make him bend the knee, so to speak. What I have an issue with, really, in general, in this world, this society that we're living in, honestly, is the selective outrage, which is something Chris Rock talked about. So it was the same comedy special that Chris Rock did after he got slapped by Will Smith at the Academy Award. So he pretty much said stuff that I agree with and everything, in the sense that, like, people are allowed to believe in what they want to believe, you know, human rights, this and that, and all that stuff. Is like, no one has an issue with making sure everyone is treated fairly and equally. And I could say the same, like, you know, everyone should be treated equally, all that stuff, you know, racism, wrong, all that stuff. But what I have a problem with, okay, is the selective outrage. And allow me to explain what that means in case you don't know. That basically means that a group of people will pick and choose what to get upset over or what to get offended by, to basically promote a to promote a narrative, right? And this is what these people do. Like, you've had Chris Benoit murder his wife's son and then himself. No outrage. Brock Lesnar openly said on live TV that he doesn't like gays. No outrage. You know what? I'm going to actually go ahead and say it. Joe Biden literally said on TV that if you can't figure out if you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Being openly racist. No outrage. None. But yet we're going to flip out as somebody who used ignorant language during a low point in his life, and y'all didn't want to, allow him to learn from that mistake and never to speak like that again? You're really going to hold on to that one moment and then throw it in his face like he's the absolute worst human being on earth, when I can literally tell you right now, he may not have been the most angelic person, but there are other pro wrestlers personally who are far worse than Hulk Hogan. Way, way worse. The only political statement that I will make, and I kind of already did it with the Joe Biden comment and all that stuff, but that's another thing that people come after him for, is also the fact that, when he was alive, he supported Donald Trump. To which my response to that is, who cares? Like, who the fuck cares? The last thing that I think about when I'm watching the WWE is what any of these wrestlers, men or women, what they believe in politically. Because I don't care. You may be a famous athlete who's always on the road and everything, travel the world and all that stuff, and you have this, your merit is through the roof because everybody is buying your merch, wants to meet you, this and that. That's all cool. But I also recognize that these people are human beings just like the rest of us. They just happen to be on a different level socially, right? Compared to someone like me, right? So, knowing that they're human beings, I don't care what the fuck they believe in. I don't care. If you're a Democrat, cool. If you're a Republican, cool. I don't fucking care. Why do people care so much about what other people think? Like, back in the day, obviously there was heated political discourse between Democrats and Republicans, but it was like, they disagreed with one another, but, they ultimately were just like, all right, let's agree to disagree and keep it moving. That's how it was back then. Nowadays, you can't even say shit. You really cannot say anything without somebody getting so deep in their emotions to the point where they're willing to attack you online for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what has this world come to? How did we get so far from having just a civil disagreement to, oh my God, we gotta cancel this guy because he supports a racist. He supports someone who used the N-word one time in his life and apologized for it and never spoke for it and never spoke like that again, and or saying some other opinion that probably differs to their own and everything, right? It's like, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous that it even got to this point. I'm like, people should be allowed to believe in support whoever they want to support. Like, if you're a Democrat and you support left-wing ideologies and stuff like that, that's cool. And if you want to vote Democrat because you are one, then cool. That's fine. I don't care. The same goes for Republican. Like, if you're a Republican, you support right-wing ideology and you support anyone who's on, the right and all that stuff, cool, also cool. I don't care. The same could be said for the center people. Center, the centrist, center left, center right, and all that stuff, i.e. people who are in the middle, but they do support left-wing ideologies and vice versa and all that stuff. but they're not really part of the problem. They're actually more quiet and cool about it. But my point is that like whatever side you support is fine. I don't care. This is the United States of America. You should be allowed to support whoever you want to support and believe in whatever you want to believe in. And attacking a social media influencer online for supporting somebody who said something ignorant at a low point in his life, not to mention supported Donald Trump? How in the hell are you any better than your enemies when you literally stoop to the exact level that you accuse them of doing? And you know what? If there's one last thing, there's only one thing that I'm gonna say. This is the only political comment I'm gonna make on this channel, and I'm not gonna turn this channel into. I'd rather stay away from politics because that's taboo for everybody. But there's only one thing that I will say. I'm gonna end the video with this one note. It's always the ones who complain the most about racism, fascism, dictatorship, all these things that are promoting it. I want you to think about that for a sec.